Hi, hello everybody. This is Elvira Kalmár, and my conversation partner today is Emanuele Quintarelli from the very hot Rome. Hi, Emanuele. Thank you very much for joining me. And you are becoming more and more well known about the human organization model. And I just thought maybe it would be interesting to get some of the knowledge out from you. So can we start with maybe you explaining us what makes an organization a human organization?
First of all, thank you for inviting me here. I'm very happy to have this conversation. And I really like to have the conversation, so I don't think I have all the questions, all the answers. I think that there is an ongoing discussion worldwide about how to make our organizations not just more efficient and more effective, and everybody is involved into that, but also more human. So how to bring human back at the center of the organizations. And I think there are a few angles. I built a model that is called the human organization map that has a number of dimensions. But in a nutshell, I think what we are seeing is that the why the organization exists is changing. It's going from maximizing shareholder value, so making money in a sense, to involving human beings to achieve something for the organization and at the same time for the world. We talk about meaning, we talk about purpose, we talk about this idea of doing something bigger than ourselves. To me, that's the starting point. The why is different. The second difference is the who. So it's about who are no longer the shareholders, but the stakeholders of the organization. And here we have many different types of human beings. Yes, it's customers, yes, it's owners, but it's also employees, for example, really employees. Mm-hmm. And there is also partners and suppliers. Potentially there is institutions and competitors. What we are seeing is that the new models, the new organizational models, and I know we are going to touch a bit on that, are trying to open up the organization, the boundaries to co-create value with a much larger and less precise group of stakeholders. The third level is the practices, how we do. And here, yes, we have agile, but we have new forms of decision-making. We are new forms to let people develop and grow personally, not just in the organization, but again, as human beings. And we have adaptivity. So we have this idea of human beings as sensors for the world and also as agents for the evolution, for the flow of the organization. And if you look at COVID, what we are living, this idea that the organization can flow, can constantly change is so important for survival. And the last part is this idea that you can work, not from the office, not from 9 to 5, but from everywhere you want, actually also every time you want asynchronously. So to me, the human organization is one in which human beings, through some principles, but also some practices, are able to express their full potential, looking at the broader context, not just the organization, but also everything that goes around in the organization, potentially the world.
Oh, and this sounds very complex. So if I'm working for an organization, suppose, what would you say, what is it that kind of should give me a good sign or a clear indication that this is kind of a more human organization than the others?
That's a good point. And first of all, let me say that I don't believe that there is an answer for all the organizations. There are trends, there are many examples, and that's the big news in the last 5-10 years. So we can really see organizations such as Patagonia, organizations such as Burzard, organizations such as WGO or Ayer, what they are doing, not to copy them or Spotify, not to copy the model, but really to get inspiration and to tailor these ideas to around context. So I don't think that you can really score organizations against a map or a line and say, oh, my organization is more human than yours. That's not really the point. The point is to to look at the context, at the trajectory, at the culture, and also at the ambition of your organization, and trying to get a journey started. So it's really not a transformation, not even a digital transformation. It's not going from A to B, but it's empowering the entire organization. For me, that's the key, the entire organization, not HR, not just the top management, the entire organization, every individual, every employee, to constantly improve the way the organization functions. It could be about changing the processes, could be about engaging external stakeholders. It's about letting human beings to be really the engine of the evolution of the organization. And to me, this is so important because everybody else is talking about artificial intelligence, RPA, blockchain, and those topics are really important. I'm a computer scientist, so of course I cannot say anything else. But for me, we are really missing the importance of human beings in this fluidity of the organization. So the human organization actually is an organization that removes obstacles for human beings to work on the organization, in the organization.
I'm so super happy that you kind of the father of the human organization model is actually kind of sharing this wisdom with us, because of course if somebody Googles your name and finds the model, it's a super cool model. It kind of charts out on the individual, on the team, and at an organization level what an organization sort of should look into it. And I know that, and there were also lots of these models in the past also which got misunderstood and misused. So I'm just super thankful that we're already starting this conversation with that model is more just kind of a map, and it's not an aim or a goal to anybody to score kind of maximum on all of that. And also, as I'm listening to you, it kind of reminds me of course, we had these conversations in the past years, and I even forgot to tell our HR Fest viewers that in 2018 you even were there at the HR Fest in Budapest. That these things somehow, of course, been around for years, and for a long time it somehow seemed that these are the nice to have dimensions in the companies. And my question is, do you think, or I could say, do you agree with me that these dimensions are actually becoming more and more important? Like if we just look back in the last 4 months since we are quarantined, everything has become sort of unpredictable. We're working very differently than we did before. So is there a more important relevance?
Let me say that I'm not coming from the HR space. I'm coming to this mostly from the business side. Mm-hmm. So probably you can believe me because I don't have to pitch it to HR people only. I think that these trends and really acting on these trends. So as you said, the uncertainty, the unpredictability of the market, the globalization is a matter of survival. Mm-hmm. And it's no longer, the utopia thinking about, it would be nice to have these human organizations. For me, the message is that this is good for business. This is good for business and for human beings at the same time, not in a different order. One side is amplifying the other. And to me now we have proof, not just because of the many examples. We have tens of examples in any industry, in any country, at any company side, from few people to hundreds of thousands of people, from new startups to companies that are doing this for 50 years. But this is good because we can measure now the impact, for example, innovation, the impact on customer loyalty, the impact in terms of empowering people to speak up and to tell when something is not working. It's about operations, it's about reducing costs. So we are now seeing two things. On one side, the self-managed, self-organized firms are spreading. They're no longer, unique things in the world. We estimate that now quite 10% of the market is at least experimenting with this. It's not much, but it's a good starting point. It was 2% a few years ago. And they're doing this, yeah, maybe because they love people, but also because they love the business. They want to do a good business. So at the end, this is not a nice to have. It's surviving, or sometimes it's leading the market. So we have so many examples that it's just crazy not looking into this, whether you are in HR or you are into business, the business side.
Okay, but you're saying you're not from HR, but we are preparing this video for the HR crowd. So I still am going to ask you, and what sort of special role you see for HR in supporting companies to become more human, or how could HR people kind of initiate or just kind of help this awareness in a company that this might be kind of beneficial for the business as well?
I think this is really a turning point. HR is facing a big decision right now. You can just keep doing what you do. So mostly working on systems, on operational work that is needed. It's not going to disappear. Or adding on top of this a more strategic role, starting to talk the language of the business, but doing that from a human perspective. To me, that's a career opportunity. So if you can talk to the CEO or you can talk to the board and help them understand how their strategic plan needs a human perspective, a people perspective, an organizational perspective to be realized. Otherwise, it won't be ever implemented. Well, okay, you are doing your job and probably you are opening up a number of opportunities for yourself and your people. So the big decision is, do we want to talk to the business? Do we want to work with others? And to be sincere, I didn't see this attitude so much in the past. I think it's changing right now because everybody is trying to address these trends. And since we talked about human beings, who should do that if not HR? So I think HR really has a concrete, measurable opportunity, but it also has a choice to make.
Yeah, and I fully agree with you. I mean, as I told you, we all know that somehow all the human aspects of the organization, in some sense, of course, HR should take care of it and look into it. And on the other hand, it's not that much, of course, and not that obvious. And we just had this kind of conversation with Perry Timms about how the role of HR is changing and how the new HR business partners should actually be equipped with not just classical HR knowledge, but very much transformational knowledge, very much organization development and design knowledge, so that they can at least ask the right questions or challenge at the right time. And for that, I also had another question in mind, because I also saw that you've been publishing a few articles about how Sociokrácia or Holacrácia is, for example, human or not human. And of course, these are models. And in Hungary, the scaled Spotify model is very widely spread by your ex-colleagues. And my question is, do you think just by the opportunity to implement these models is going to take a company closer to be more human? Or should the company's way of thinking be more human before you start implementing these models?
So one of the reasons for which I built the human organization map was really to reflect, let's say not compare, to reflect on the many models, because we have many stories, but also many models, and the number of models is increasing. And of course, it's easier for organization to just find a model that looks shiny and copying it. It's easier, it's understandable at the end, it's a good starting point. It means somebody did the thinking for you. The issue with that is that you don't have any clue to understand if those ideas, if that thinking really resonates with your unique trajectory, your unique context. It may be, but you don't know. So you may be really doing more damage than value. And just to give you an example, I've seen so many top-down deployment of agile in organization. Isn't that weird? We want to empower people, we want to give them space, we want to be agile, and we tell everybody, thousands of people, now you're going to be Scrum Master, you're going to do retrospective, you're going to do reviews. Maybe it's the right way, but even the process through which you bring the organization along with you is so important. So for me, models are fine as long as you can really look into the models and compare the models against what you need. That's for me the reason of the human organization map. And sociocracy and holacracy are interesting because in a sense they are quite extreme forms of adaptive organization design. So they don't tell you, you have to do this. They give you just, as holacracy would say, and I don't like the word, but the operating system. Yeah. At the end, you need to build the apps on top of that. It's just, you know, the bottom layer. What I wrote about recently as a comparison of holacracy and sociocracy, because even if they look so similar, at the end, the beliefs, the roots, the worldview behind them is totally different. Sociocracy is much more into human complex adaptive systems, living systems, and theory why. So believing that human beings are, you know, self-motivated, self-managed, and at the end you have to remove obstacles, and in an emergent way, the best organization will pop up. Holacracy, even with the same practices and quite the same language, believes that okay, you have to be a bit more
created
specific.
By engineers, I would say. Yeah.
Because exactly I'm a computer scientist, but I see, you know, the computer scientist behind that, Brian behind that, trying to really build the constitution, the book of rules that you must adhere to. And of course, you can change it. And that's the commonality. You can change it. So anything is possible. But most organizations are not ready to do that. So the starting point is important. But what is even more important is really the ability of the organization to think about itself and to use the model just as a starting point to make it evolve. To me, this is mostly missing in the market. We tend to copy and then to stop it there. And most of the organizations I'm aware of, Spotify even, or ING, are starting from the model. But even Spotify has been changing the model forever. And the first thing they will tell you is, please don't copy us, because there is no model. It's just what we are trying to do, and it's changing all the time. Ayer is another example. Ayer probably is the most extreme platform-centric, micro-enterprises-centric model.
Yeah, but they being also modelized at the moment and already coming to the market as a model to ready.
Yeah, but even they say, if you are too strict on the model, you are getting it wrong, because we don't believe that you can copy it. There are some patterns, but the patterns should be just a stimulus for thinking, not something to copy and to apply it. And I think these stories, these models, has value. So at the end, they are accelerating this journey, but they also bring responsibility. So most organizations should really take these responsibilities and to do the homeworks. And again, I think HR and the organization here have responsibility for it. So that means that those people need to look at the models, know their business, because only know their business, not consultants, you know, not people selling models, and starting from there to evolve the model and to tailor it to themselves.
Yeah, and I kind of fully agree with you. And what I would share is that I also was very skeptical with the top-down agile transformations, but with a year and a half distance from it, I kind of now arrived to the point when I say, and hey, that was kind of a good first sprint to start doing things differently. But as also you are saying, very much the worldview, the mindset of the people is defining what you can make of any of these models. And of course, they are wonderful to inspire our way of thinking how else it is possible to organize ourselves around work. But at the end of the day, it will be the company. And what I'm kind of hearing in your words also is that, and the people in the company who will know the business, know how they can or they could do things better, and that's the interesting part, how you create space for that in an organization. So that
and you see, this is so important. This is so important because even sociocracy and holacracy, basically holacracy is a bit more monolithic. It means that it's ready for you to use, so you are not really compelled to decompose it. Sociocracy, even with the same practices, it's the opposite. At the end, you have many pieces. You can decide if you want to pick one piece, rounds, easy, very easy, or consent-based decision-making, another piece, or if you want to buy the entire package, but you can choose. So at the end, even this perspective, letting you pick pieces or letting you buy everything is so important. So if you don't reflect about that before choosing the model, you can be in trouble because maybe you are not ready to really understand the implications of the choices you make in decomposing the model. So there is no answer for everybody. There is a responsibility for everybody.
Okay, and as we're arriving closer to the end of this video recording, kind of my last question is, but if you could send a message, just one message to the HR community, what would that be regarding, what is it that they should equip themselves with so they can support their companies in the best possible way to move towards being more human and with that more adaptive?
I think what we are facing globally is not just a professional need, it's a social need. I don't know about yourself, but I have so many friends that on Monday morning don't want to wake up to go to work or to connect to work today. So we have millions of people that are disempowered, disengaged, unhappy, unmotivated, unproductive. So we are really wasting millions of lives. To me, that's the problem. The problem is a problem at the global economy level. So for me, HR has a big responsibility in really discussing, reinventing what we have given for granted for 100 years. So the scientific management model and compensation and rewarding and performance management, entire industries that have been built on a word or the idea of a word that is no longer there. This is a social responsibility. It's not just about making money or being more effective. It's about giving us meaning as a species. I don't know, if you are not compelled by doing this, well, what else could do that? So for me, the big ask, the big invitation to the HR community is really, your role is key in the world, not just in your organization. So connect with your peers. Look at the examples, look at the models, but especially take responsibility and take actions, do experiments, try to do things, accepting also that you may fail. And this is another problem, everybody wants to have the answer. There is no answer, it's just a journey. You need to iterate, you need to try, you need to learn as quickly as possible to fail and to improve it again. If we don't do this, at this point in time, there is no answer. So we will be stuck into a model of the organization that is at least 100 years old. And unfortunately, this is still the reality. So it's a call to action for me. If not now, when?
Hey, Emanuele, thank you so much for this very touching and motivating conversation and closing of it. This was super, super nice. You heard Elvira Kalmár and Emanuele Quintarelli for HR Fest Online. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you soon.
See you soon.